Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for giving me the time to say a few words, the honorable judges and moderators. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lorenza Hulu from Senior High School State 1 Alasa. At this time, I am the first speaker in the opposition team, whose job is to reject and disapprove of our motion this time due to several reasons that are not appropriate in life or society. Wherein our motion this time, namely, as a middle-class parent, this house will support their child's choice to the priorities formal education in favor of pursuing digital creative skill or career or content creation, audiovisual design, etc. As an opposition team, I take two important points, namely, first, formal education, secondly, digital creative skill. For the first, we have to know what is education. Well, the definition of education is systematic to create an educational environment and a learning step where students have the mental strength, self-control, personality, and intelligence needed by the Indonesian community, state, and nation to develop actively. According to the father of national education, education is a mandatory right for a child's life. Education has an understanding as a guide to the strengths that exist in a child. So a child can become a human being, a society can achieve success and be useful for the country so that it can uphold the highest norms. Education Day on May 2 is the same as the birthday of the father of national education, Ki Hajar Dewantara. Formal education can be interpreted as education that we get from educational institutions such as schools or campuses, offline or online. Digital creative skill can be interpreted as creativity or expertise in running digital programs that are both interesting and entertaining for the purpose of providing education. The role of the environment is very influential or has a very close relationship with the progress and achievement of education. This is because every individual involved in the educational process interact with each other to become a single unit with their environment. Formal education, it is an educational path that should certainly already known or is common in Indonesia, namely education that is organized like a school and has a level of education, namely elementary, junior high, and high school levels. This educational path has a structured and very clear level of education. The characteristics of the formal education system in Indonesia are A. More emphasis on intellectual development. B. Students are homogeneous. C. The content of formally programmed education or curriculum is written. D. Structured, tiered, and continuous. E. Scheduled and relative long education time. F. The method of implementing education is formal. G. The evaluation of education is carried out systematically. And H. Credentials must exist and are important. In essence, formal education is part of national education, which aims to shape Indonesian people completely in accordance with their nature, namely individuals who believe and are devoted to God Almighty, have no noble character, are democratic, uphold human rights, master science, technology, and art, have physical and spiritual health, have life skills that are naive, have a solid, independent, and creative personality, and have social and national responsibilities that are able to create an intelligent and competitive nation life in the global era. The purpose of formal education in Indonesia. The purpose of formal education, or schools have educational goals according to the level of form and type. The school's goals can be found in the school's curriculum in question. The general purpose of school is to provide students with the ability to develop their lives. While in formal education there is standardization of education in the Standardization Law Number 19 of 2005, which stipulates the minimum standards of education in 8 categories, namely standards of content, process, competency of graduates, educators and education personnel, facilities and infrastructure, management, financing, and assessment of education. Formal education, in accordance with what is stated in Article 1, Paragraph 11, Law Number 20 of 2003, and later clarified by the existence of Article 1, Paragraph 6, Government Regulation Number 17 of 2010, concerning management and implementation, which reads, formal education is a structured and tiered educational path. The characteristics of this formal education path are have a clear curriculum, imposing certain conditions for students. The learning materials used are academic in nature. The education process is quite long. The teaching staff must have certain qualification. The implementation of education comes from the government and the private sector. Students take formal exam. There is a uniform administration. Practicing academic ability. These academic abilities include analytical skills, memorization, logic, problem solving, and so on. Someone who has good academic skills is generally better able to solve problems and have a better life. Train mental, physical, and discipline. This educational path requires students to arrive at school at certain hours and go home at certain hours. This can indirectly train students' discipline. In addition, the learning process at school will continuously shape the mental and physical well-being of students. Practicing responsibility at school, students are also taught about responsibility. For example, the responsibility of doing tasks, maintaining clean lines, and so on. So, I as a opposition team do not agree if parents do not prioritize formal education for their children. Well, thank you for this time and see you.